Hey, this is Pat with Racket Stringing Tips, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how much should you charge for racket stringing. So let's say you've been able to string your own rackets, you've been interested in taking it to the next step and actually start stringing for your friends or other, you want to establish a part-time business and you just want to get into actually charging others for your stringing. So this is kind of a complex question that I'm going to try to get down in about 10 minutes or so, hopefully. I know it's one of those subjects where there's a lot of factors involved. So the first thing, I think, there's a lot of different markets, and I'm primarily speaking to the U.S. market. That's what I'm more familiar with. So most of the information I have, most of my history, most of my background has been stringing on the West Coast. But I have been in other markets, and I've talked to people in other markets as far as in the U.S. to kind of get an idea. So I've been doing some research on that. And I think if you use the benchmark of well, what is a professional player get charged at tournaments, and use that as a benchmark too, because generally if you're looking at that being $25 to $30 labor per frame, that gives you an idea. You're probably not going to be able to charge more than that, right? And most markets don't. That holds true, I would think, in most markets as far as the labor rate. But I think it is important to establish an hourly rate. So the one thing that the three things that we want to look at, I think, primarily when we're looking at, what are you going to charge, is what is your market, what is your competition, and what is your experience. Those are the three things that I would look at. Now, checking out your market, you can do that by going to in your local area, going to where you can actually get rackets strung, whether it's a club, whether it's a specialty tennis shop, whether it's a big box store, whether it's like Dick's Sporting Goods or Sports Chalet, whichever, wherever or if you're anywhere near Tennis Express or Tennis Warehouse, those kind of things. And then, of course, there's an online market too, where people can send their rackets and so forth. So you do want to look at that. But I think, like I was saying earlier, create a labor structure. Think of car mechanics. Okay, car mechanics, they base obviously their rates on the amount of time that it takes to perform a certain labor, and so they use mechanical the books that have the hourly rate in them, and then that's what they'll base their time on, and then they'll figure out, obviously, based on how much they charge an hour. I wish we could charge as much as mechanics, because that would be great, but obviously our hourly rate is much lower than that. But you can still use that same kind of pricing model. So think of like an hourly rate, and then you can go backwards and kind of figure out, okay, well, generally a racket should take half an hour to string. I know you can do it faster than that. Some rackets take more time than that, but think of it as a half an hour rate. But aside from just labor for stringing a racket, there's labor for all of the other areas, the customization services, right? Putting on an overgrip, putting on a grip, putting on a complete grommet set, increasing the grip size, or even replacing a butt cap, fixing the racket, getting out, sometimes there's a rattle in the racket, and so you have to take a bunch of stuff apart to get that out. There's, along with some other types of repairs. So those are all things that you should consider charging labor for. And if you have a complete scale going by, an hourly rate, let's say your hourly rate is $40. I think that's pretty typical, right? So, you're going to charge $20 labor for stringing a racket. Maybe you'll charge $2 for an overgrip. $4 to put a grip on. grommet set, maybe $10. Sometimes those take a little bit longer. And it's not really how long it takes you. You might be really effective and quick at putting it on, but you shouldn't discount that that time that it would take an average person to do, because I mean, you are an expert. You should be able to do it quicker, and you should be able to do it efficiently, but yet you're worth a certain amount of money. So the one thing that I've always told people, and that I learned early on, was don't discount your labor. Once you discount your labor, you are discounting your ability and your technical knowledge, right? And that's why it's important to continue to keep learning, to keep getting better at this craft, because the more things that you're able to do, the more that you could be an expert out in the field, and also to create more business for yourself, and also create value. That's what really this is all about, is creating value. And value, I think, equates to those higher labor dollars. You'll see people on Craigslist, you'll see people on, at the local, tennis shop, not charging, or, like a club, maybe, or the home stringer, just through friends that or something, only charging $10 for labor, or $12, or they have it priced into their strings. They're discounting themselves. And I know they're going to get some business, but ultimately, to sustain that, they're going to come and go. So if you want to sustain a business that's going to grow over time, and your expertise is going to grow, you're going to need to add things to your tool belt. And you can do that by learning, by going to places like this where you can learn new information, getting resources, getting together at events, and the such. So what I would say is, back to the original question, which is, how much should I charge for stringing? Again, what's your market, your competition, and your experience? I would say, though, in general, $15 to $20 is a good place to start. It's harder later on to add more, so I would say establish yourself. Later on, too, if that's just for your standard rate. If somebody needs it that same day or that hour, that's going to happen. You can charge a little additional. If somebody needs it, you can always guarantee it within 24 hours and so forth. Now, the way that you build credibility, again, is by establishing that you are an expert. So when a racket comes in, let's say, you do a whole pre-stringing checklist where you're checking off everything that you're looking at. And this also could potentially increase your profit, because you might be finding things that are wrong with the racket that you're going to tell your customer later on afterwards, and you're going to give them this printout. You're going to have, like, a template. I think I'm going to keep working on creating a really good template, and then I'll offer that for free. But the whole idea is, like when you take your car and later on you get that service receipt where it says, this is kind of what we found. You might want to think about repairing these things, and just to keep that performance up. And then offering suggestions, like, you're using this, and this actually keeps tension a little bit better, this type of string, so maybe you want to do that. So all those kind of things build credibility. I know at first that might seem like, well, I might not get as much business because I'm not charging as much labor, but think about it as you're wanting to do this for the long term. And if you can establish yourself, when people need your services, when they need what you have and they haven't found it elsewhere, or the quality hasn't been, they're going to come to you, and they're going to be willing to spend a little bit extra, but you have to create your technical expertise, and you have to create those benefits that people are looking for. So think about that. So again, don't discount your labor. I see people create 5-in-1 stringing cards where you string 5 and then the 6th one is free. That right there is 20% discount. Do you want to discount your labor? Sometimes when you get strings on sale, maybe discount the strings, but do not discount your labor. Should you put labor and strings together? Well, the price of strings changes, so then you're going to get stuck and you're going to make less. I would say keep everything separate. Again, somebody brings in string to you and they just want you to string it, you might be charging a little bit extra for that, because really the strings that they're bringing to you too are used, so you can't really guarantee those, because what if they've been sitting around for 2 years and they're going to snap when you string them? Is that going to, then it's going to come back to you, right? So make sure you make your client aware of that. So those are just some of the things I would think about. But again, do not discount your labor. Establish a price for yourself, establish an hourly rate, and then you can create a whole menu of all of the services and all the things that you can do. And as you get more proficient in some of these things, you're going to be able to just add to that menu, and people are going to come to you because you're going to be the expert. So anyways, that's it for today. I hope that helped. Again, do not discount your labor, and I would start around $15 to $20 for just the labor for stringing a racket. I at least wanted to bring that out. So hopefully that was helpful. Leave a comment, leave a question. I answer all the questions that come to my comments, and so we'll see you next time. Thanks.